thank you. Okay. I see a hand back there.
He's already testified.
Oh, you thought of your third question.
University. Why don't the Board of Commissioners go out to the Buddha well and listen to themselves and see what they think? That could be the solution to see if it really is that well. Because I have to agree with the gentleman. I live a mile from the site. I don't want to, if that well's going to be running 24 hours a day in a pumping station, I really don't want to hear it either. I have to do AAA at night, running truck. I've seen the trucks up Dimmock running, the tractor trailers. They run like a bat out of hell at 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. I've driven past them hauling cars up in Dimmock, going up towards Wyalusing, New York and all. Why doesn't the board just go out to the Buddha site and listen? That would solve the problem. That would solve listening to him, listening to them.
Right, understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask a question. I hope I can come back and speak after the next presentation. It's kind of hard to parse these out and since they cover the similar topics. But I did notice that in the ordinance on page 20, under M3, the heavy industrial district, not only are there decibels listed, but there are octave band cycles. And very clearly at higher octave band cycles, lower decibels must be of concern if you look at this. Not that I know anything about it, but I'm certain that the gentleman who took that testing must understand that, and perhaps that might lead us to an answer to this question. I didn't see anywhere any indication of the octave band cycles for this particular type of noise that's being heard a mile away. Could Anna answer that? What are the octave band cycles?
We're in an agricultural zone, not an M3 zone.
Well, I'm just looking at this because in the ordinance there are listed here. There's a chart in the to give limits in an industrial zone, and that particular chart shows us that in higher octave band cycles, noise must be more impactful. And so we're talking only about decibels, which are obviously only one of the variables. The other variable to take into consideration would be the octave band cycles. So if we want to know why noise is traveling, we need more than just decibels.
There are, to Ms. Avakian's point, there are specific performance standards outlined for certain uses in the zoning ordinance. These are performance standards that are, as you point out, listed specifically for the M3 district.
I guess there's no answer to that? We don't know?
Well, I think the only answer I can say to that is under our ordinance, they're not required to do the decibels or the octave band because it's not in the agricultural part of the ordinance, unfortunately.
Right.
It's also not required in the state of Pennsylvania, which regulates this. So the noise issue is only something that we're asking them to do at a decibel rate, not something that they're required to do under the ordinance.
Well, I'll just reiterate earlier testimony under the ordinance. There is no special exception use for this facility whatsoever. So under the ordinance, it wouldn't be a permitted activity.
Oh, you're talking about something different now.
The compressor.
No, you're talking about the, they're talking about, I thought you were talking about the drilling.
I'm sorry, I thought he was hearing a compressor a mile away.
So the Buddha well.
The drilling,
well.
he's talking
My
about drilling at the
apologies.
Buddha well.
That's something
Right.
different.
Okay,
They have
thank you.
built a compressor.
I have a prepared statement, but I want to learn more about the purview of the zoning board because I don't want to waste your time irrelevantly. So I wasn't totally sure whether the statement was relevant. So I decided I'd ask you a few questions first before launching into it. Okay. Explain to me like a bit about the purview of the zoning board, and for example, on what grounds you might deny a permit.
Well, I think that's really a very general question. When you say on what grounds we would deny a permit, first of all, as everybody understands, this isn't a permit. Okay, this is a request for an application for special exception. Especially,
okay.
okay?
Oh, okay.
So I don't want anybody to think that we're permitting anything. Permitting comes through
Okay.
DEP and it
This
comes
is-
through other government agencies for what they do. This is
Okay.
not a permit. This is
Okay,
simply.
I think I was fooled by the screen.
Okay. And again, this is, what is going to occur here today is going to be a determination as to whether they meet the zoning requirements. And what the zoning requirements say that in an agricultural district, that a special exception to a use which is allowed in that district would include gas drilling. So when you say what,
Specifically the extraction and storage of oil,
so
or of gas and oil.
when you say what would we preclude under a special exception,
Okay.
most of what we would preclude someone coming in a special exception in the gas drilling area now, we have now been precluded by state regulation as to the concerns that most people have for precluding it now. So the only things that we can do is just try to set in safeguards with regards to traffic and with regards to dust control and to some degree with regards to traffic plans, emergency response plans, things of that nature. We can require that they have all their permits that they have to get through the state before that they can operate. So any approval they get here really is contingent upon them getting all the other approvals that they need before they proceed anyway.
Going back again to what I had said at the outset, a special exception is a use that is envisioned by the ordinance. That means that it is not the same thing as a variance, where they are requesting something that is not envisioned in the ordinance.
Right, the towers are variants and stuff like
The
that.
towers,
The height things are
that's absolutely
variances.
correct. The towers are height variances. That's correct.
Oh, okay.
And the compressor and the three different items that are the three height variance requests.
Okay. Well, something that I was very curious about, because it had a relation to my planned remarks. In what ways has the Oil and Gas Act tied your hands that would normally be within the scope of a zoning board such as this one? Could you
General
speak on
safety,
that?
health, and welfare issues.
So,
This has been litigated in a series of cases that have gone up to the state Supreme Court. And the case that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is most relevant is Range Resources versus Salem Township, which was several years ago, I think 2 years ago perhaps. And in that case, which was then clarified by several others, the state Supreme Court said that it was only within the purview of local land use in Pennsylvania, in essence, and I'm obviously paraphrasing here, to regulate the where of drilling. We cannot regulate how, which is a shorthand way of saying that we cannot enact requirements or regulations that are already covered in what the Commonwealth believes to be its body of regulations to govern this particular industry and this particular use. And this came about after a series of court cases in which gas companies, zoning hearing boards, municipalities went back and forth on what level of authority local land use planning bodies, whether it is a zoning hearing board or a township board of township supervisors or a planning commission, had to regulate this particular industry. And in the end, this is where the Supreme Court has ruled.